Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, welcome to the World of Wrestling Podcast. Here today to discuss about the AEW Dynamite December 31st, 2025 review. The last Dynamite episode of 2025 from yesterday. The show was fairly decent, I'd say. Wrestling-wise was okay. I'd say the Women's TBS Championship was a bit shocking. They ended Mercedes Moné 2025 on a bad note. She now has all these made-up championships that no one's ever heard of before under her belt at this point. She is no longer a TBS Women's Champion on AEW. Willow Nightingale took that championship. She is now holding the tag team titles and the TBS Women's Championship simultaneously. Jon Moxley went one-on-one with Josh Alexander in a grueling, scrappy fight over his title. Well, the title wasn't on the line. If he was to lose to Josh Alexander, he would have had to defend that AEW Continental Championship against somebody. I have a feeling that the Death Riders are eventually going to turn on Jon Moxley. And it's going to be because he's got a lot of steam behind him with the fans and everything else in between. I honestly think the Death Riders are going to turn on Jon Moxley when Darby Allin beats Pac at a major event. I think they're going to build a storyline around that going into Revolution probably here and there every couple episodes or so. And that's what they're going to do. And then Darby Allin's going to beat Pac in a one-on-one regular matchup without the bells and whistles. And Jon Moxley is going to protect Darby Allin after he wins the match clean. And the Death Riders are going to attack Darby Allin. But Jon Moxley is going to say no to beating up Darby Allin. Instead, he's going to shake his hand or protect him and save his ass. And that is going to lead to the Death Riders ending their relationship with Jon Moxley. I think Pac's the appropriate guy to be the one to lead this group. He's got more of an attitude. He's more grittier. He has a similar personality of Jon Moxley in the sense of like being full of intensity and whatnot. And he could be looked at as a leader within a group, I think. I think he deserves a legitimate push within this Death Riders thing if they're going to keep the Death Riders going. And that's pretty much it. I think that's where it's going to come down to. They already hinted a storyline with Darby Allin and Pac yesterday, with Darby Allin pretty much saying, I've beaten everybody in the Death Riders except for Pac, and he wants to finish that story by beating Pac eventually in a one-on-one match. And that's pretty much the endo facto towards his completion and release from the Death Riders doing what they did to him. What else happened on this show? We had Bandino go one-on-one with Beast Mortos. What a joke that was. Beast Mortos ends up losing to Bandino. Bandino has an opportunity for the World Heavyweight Championship against Jon Moxley, or not Jon Moxley, MJF, because Bandino won the Dynamite Diamond Ring. And then we also had MJF come out, cut his promo. It was really good. He reintroduced the Triple B Championship, basically a brown-colored strap for the AEW World title, his version of the championship. Kenny Omega appeared on the screen, the Titantron, from his home, pretty much mentioned that he is wanting to go back to being the old Kenny Omega, but not the one that's a belt collector or the cleaner or the bout machine or anything like that from New Japan days. But he's talking about just reaching down deep within his old self and being able to go after the world title one more time and just collect one championship, which is the world heavyweight title. So he's throwing his hat in there. He says, I don't know if I would have to. I would be able to get it right to face you one-on-one. Like, second? One-on-one immediately, or if I'd have to scrap and crawl my way to it. And if I have to, I'll beat every single one that I need to beat to be able to earn the right for the championship. He also mentions about his, that he just wants to be world champion one more time. Hangman Page, Swerve Strickland, and Samoa Joe, they all had, threw their names in the hat for a chance at the world title, while MJF was out there. And, I just think MJF being on the show was a shot of adrenaline, I think. It was entertaining to see, and I was very satisfied with that. They did have also a 6-man tag team match, intergender match, with the Death Riders, Orange Cassidy, I think Mark Briscoe, and it was Harley Cameron, I believe, that were in that match. And the Death Riders got the win here, making 50-50 booking. Bad decision there. Wasn't very happy with that. I thought that was kind of fucking stupid, honestly. If you're going to have the Death Riders go over on Dynamite, why didn't you just have them go over on fucking on the pay-per-view World's End event? Shit made no sense to me, but it is what it is. What else? I think I nailed all the matches that were on the card. Tekla was on there with the Sisters of Sin. They're pretty much throwing... Tekla is very interested in the Women's World Championship. I think she'll make a great champion. She's very good on the mic, very decent in the ring. Chris Statlander was highlighted on the show at the end after Willow Nightingale won the Women TBS Championship. She congratulated her and raised her hand up in the air as the pyro went off after the show went off the air. So that was something else about Chris Statlander that was brought to attention. Bandino offered Brody King a shot at the World Championship if he won it. So he has an interest in the title. Bandino said that he's up next at, I think it's January 16th is the next episode, or whenever that episode is, 2 weeks from now. So they're going to have a match between Bandino and MJF. And I think Brody King also threw his hat in there against MJF, even if Bandino doesn't win the world title altogether, which obviously he's not going to. But yeah, Swerve Strickland has interest in teaming with Hangman Page next week against the Samoa Joe's the Ops with Will Hobbs and fucking Hook in a lights out tag team, no holds barred match. So that's also going to be included here for next week. I think overall, even though I am yawning, the show is not boring by any means. I think it was a mid-show. I think it was fair. I think it was decent enough. as a last episode of the 2025 year. I think they did the right thing there. And just booked it with some decent wrestling action with a little bit of story here and there. I think they did a fairly decent amount of story thrown around. I think the Death Riders, again, are going to come to an end. And I think Jon Moxley is going to be a baby face here in the situation of just showing respect to Darby Allin. He beat him not once but twice. He beat him in the Blood and Guts match, and he also won at WrestleDream. So at the end of the day, I mean, it really came down to the fact that Jon Moxley just came to grips that he should show the man respect instead of being his enemy. He should just align with him, be allies. And the Death Riders are not going to like that, especially after losing quite a bit within those couple of months. And then he got on a winning streak, and then the fans started loving him, and then he got soft, and they said, no, we don't have soft people in this group. I think that's the direction they're probably going to go. I think it will make sense, too. I don't think it is out of the realm of illogical booking sense, because, I mean, personally, Jon Moxley's whole thing about this is everybody making AEW a better place, bringing back the old feeling that it used to have about being a winner and working your fucking ass off and doing everything you can to be the absolute best that you can be. And that's what Jon Moxley's whole operandi is about, technically. But the way they were going about it beforehand just seemed off the fucking rails. It made no sense. I'm going to go ahead and destroy and then rebuild it. No. One, you were not a fucking threat to the AEW in that sense. That the level of being a threat to AEW like an NWO was absolutely not there whatsoever. The only thing that they were doing that really made them a threat is holding a world title hostage inside of a fucking briefcase. They're no longer doing that with the Continental Championship. So his heel run's over. He is a babyface. He is beloved by the fans, and as he should. The guy is a fucking workhorse. I've always loved Jon Moxley as Dean Ambrose in the WWE. I think they gave him a raw end of the deal. I think he delivered on so much. He's scrappy. He works his ass off. And that run that he had in 2025, I will say, was one of the worst runs in his career outside of the 2019 run, or 2018 to 2019 run at the end of that year, where he was talking about how he how he needs to have shots because people are contagious of diseases, and they're a disease. And he was getting shots in his ass for Christmas. Fucking ridiculous. But yeah, that was what Jon Moxley was doing as Dean Ambrose at the end of his career in WWE. So, outside of that, the Death Riders was one of the worst things he did in 2025 in his career. It was shit. Now this is starting to turn around, and unless they're willing to turn the entire Death Riders group into a babyface, Jon Moxley's getting kicked out at the end of the day. And that's just the way I feel about it. But yeah, overall, the rest of the show, based on what I seen and what I watched, it was fair. Decent wrestling. But not everything intrigued me. There's still a lot of work to be done with this show. But as a last episode of 2025, I think they did a fair job. And it was somewhat entertaining. So, kudos to AEW. Kudos for the work they did. but they need to level up their stories and improve that. I did see some stories being developed here. I appreciate what they were doing, and I hope they continue and level their storytelling up. That's really the only thing I see they need to do at this point, is just improving the levels of storytelling. They're basic right now. If they could level it up more, they're doing great. But I'm not going to shit all over AEW in this case. I think the last couple of weeks of AEW has been the best it's been all year long. I think they've been giving us some good wrestling content. I've also feel like the pay-per-view for World's End was a great way of ending 2025 on a high note. And they got their main star attraction back on top of the game, and hopefully it stays there for quite some while until they find and develop new stars that are useful to take the title off of MJF. So that's my feelings on AEW for last night. I hope you guys did enjoy this short little video I did. Usually mine go about 30 to 50 minutes long, but I'm not going to go ahead and sit here and go into humongous amounts of detail because there's not a lot to go into about this episode. It was pretty straightforward type of thing. They touched on a couple of good important stuff to touch on, and we saw some pretty decent wrestling, and that was pretty much it. So at this time, guys, you know what to do. Hit the like button if you like the video. Hit the subscribe button if you're not already subscribed to the channel. And leave a comment down below. I'll definitely get back to you on that. Thank you guys very much for watching. And have a great night, guys. Bye.